Hey you, so some really quick context for what you're about to hear. My name is Patrick O'Connell. I'm a comedian and a podcaster. This is a show where I'm going to talk to a lot of different other comedians or people in the comedy sphere. Now, I started this originally on my university radio channel about a year ago, and I'm releasing a couple updated, remastered, you might say, episodes of that. This is one where I speak to my very good friend Arthur Drury, who will definitely be coming back. He's a talented sketch comedian. He has a show in London. More about that at the end. But yeah, this is from spring 2023. We talked about some interesting stuff. We had fun. I bullied him for the way he eats a muffin. Deservedly, I'll have you know, and you'll see all about that. We perform his sketch at the end. Unfortunately, before we get started, I should let you know there were some microphone issues because, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what I was doing. Turning on my microphone wasn't even turned on the whole time. Hopefully, it's not too bad, but it should just be a one-time issue either way. So without further ado, this is Never As Funny, Episode 1. Welcome back to the show, where I talk to comedians in the know. That's right, it's Never As Funny. It's Never As Funny. It's called Never As Funny, it's the name of the show, by the way. Never As Funny. This is the gist of it, the name. The show's called Never. This is like the title music. It's called Never As Funny. All right. Hello, and welcome to Never As Funny, a show where I, Patrick, your lovely little host, have a different student from the Durham comedy scene on each week. This week's guest is Arthur Drury. He's wonderfully funny, a creative sketch comedian, and a good friend and comedy colleague of mine. Oh. And that's very wet.
Thank you very much.
I'll balance it by saying he is a terrible person who belongs in prison.
There we go.
He's the publicity offer for Keith, and always enters runs with his left foot first. Say hello, Arthur!
Hello! I'm back.
I'm back, baby.
Yes. Time to do some talking.
Yes. Would you like to, I've given you a loose introduction, but
yes.
You'd like to
talk a little bit about myself?
Yes.
Yes. Well, Patrick was making up all of the first stuff, but I am indeed a terrible person. I do sketch comedy with Keith Sketch Comedy Group. We do some comedy stuff here and there. It's a lot of fun. We normally have regular performances of some kind or another, so if anyone listens to this and goes, "Ooh, I'd like to boo him in person," then please follow us on Instagram. Yes. That turned out not to be about me at all.
And that is, what is that? It's like at Keith Official, I think.
Yes, official spelt wrong because we want to confuse people. It's spelt with an SH instead of a C.
It's like a challenge. You only want high IQ listeners who can figure out your handle with a series of clues.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have a little series of questions here, which I will lead with. Let's see. Let's take it natural, see where it flows, as
Perfect.
they say.
Yeah. All loose and ready, baby.
So, yeah, why don't you start by telling me, gone a little bit into Keith, but tell me a little bit about specifically what kind of stuff you're working on at the minute, like what kind of sketches.
So right now I'm also writing for a sketch radio show called Conversation from the Coffee Shop, and the theme of that is sort of overhearing conversations in public, like in a coffee shop, and they're going to be humorous. So I've tried to write sketches tailored toward that, and that's quite interesting because that's slightly challenging because you have to make it fit the brief a bit more.
Right.
And once those episodes start getting released, you'll see that I haven't entirely done that. I've sort of gone, let's just throw some coffee shop noise in the background and we can claim it's in a coffee shop.
Just incredibly loud clinking cups, unable to hear the audio.
Exactly, well, like something entirely unrelated to anything to do with being in public. But that's really interesting. That's sort of what I'm working on right now. I've written a lot of other sketches for Keith. We had a Valentine's show. We have a regular show called The Hot Box, which isn't what it sounds like. It's don't worry. We try out new material in a pub, basically, and it's sort of just a bit of a laugh, and it's a lot of fun. But we had a Valentine's one. It was like called the Valentine's Hot Box, and I wrote a Valentine's sketch for it, which again, writing to a brief was a lot of fun, and I quite enjoyed that. I also enjoyed it. It was quite good because I suddenly realised there's a lot of stuff that you can make fun of from rom-coms. Like, lots of phrases that are so common that you can just be like, oh, I can do something with this. And yeah.
I think you're right. I think I've personally found that having a brief when I'm writing a sketch or having a central kind of thing is very helpful. Kind of helps keep you on track. So like I'm also in Keith.
Yeah.
And my audition sketch was like a parody of a podcast. And I knew going in that was one I wanted to do. And so that was very helpful for, working through. Because I am an average white dude who listens to an insane number of podcasts, I have a good idea of what the general format is. And so I could stick to that.
Yeah, and I think that's quite important, is drawing off like personal experience and stuff, and it can be very useful. I mean, I think there's two main ways you go about it, is drawing off like something you personally find funny or interesting, or like you just sort of sit there with, like, in my mind, with a pen and paper, and you go, okay, think of something,
yes,
think of anything, and then vaguely an idea wanders along at some point, and you're just like, well, this is good. This will do.
Yeah. Oh, that crippling agony of staring at a blinking cursor right at the beginning of writing something is the worst. Like I said about personal stuff, people tend to give different answers to this. How much do you think you put kind of your own personal experiences into your stuff?
Sometimes there is one sketch I know I can think of immediately where it's very based on something that actually happened, where I woke up, was really fighting to not immediately fall back to sleep, because, your alarm goes off but immediately your brain's like, and sleep again, quick.
Yeah.
And I just managed to stay awake, get out of bed, like, oh, I feel terrible, but I'm out of bed, it's done, I need to go to this lecture now. And I check my, like, timetable, and I'm like, or like my emails, and this lecture's been cancelled. I can go back to bed. Fantastic. I get back into bed. I'm like, right, time to sleep. And then my body was like, no. And I was just like, well, that's a sketch. I'll just have to get up again and write a sketch now.
It's so horrifically unfair that your bed is always a million times comfier in the morning than at night.
It's so true for some reason. Just like, you're like, it's time. I actively want to go to sleep now. And then, like, every possible factor involved is like, well, you can't now. But as soon as you want to get up, we'll put you to sleep.
See, this is the problem with society. They tell you can't be sleepy.
We're tackling the big issues already. Yeah, no, I think personal experience is important. I think it's a big... Because it's the easiest way to come up with comedy stuff in whatever comedy form. You see something, you think that's funny, and then you can also think, okay, how do I take it so it's also what happened, but also I can make it more ridiculous. I can make that into the funniest version of whatever happened that I want.
Yes, absolutely. I've recently started doing stand-up. I've just done one open mic so far. And obviously stand-up's slightly different to sketch comedy when it comes to including personal stuff, because it tends to be more telling an actual story and playing it up. I was very paranoid as I was doing it, because the story I told was related to my last breakup, which is, I know, hilarious, right? But the whole time I was like, is it bad if this gets back to someone? And I think you have to find a balance between, you want to be real and you want to use real experiences, but you also don't want to slander someone unnecessarily.
Yeah, there's definitely like I definitely struggle with that as well. Is the idea of like, I almost find it less funny, just the very notion that it could personally upset someone, like that I personally know, because I'm making fun of them.
Yeah,
particularly,
absolutely.
And that, like, a friend of mine or something, I don't know, I find that slightly harder to write stuff about, but it's definitely, in theory, personal experience is the easiest way to come up with stuff. It's just slightly anxiety inducing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, there's this hot button at the minute, this whole thing of like offensive comedy. Comedians should be able to say whatever, which I feel like is true to a point, but like whenever I'm writing something, I don't mind if kind of the audience is taken aback or whatever, but I'd never want to feel a physical single person make them feel upset, because that's also just not funny.
Yeah, how do you feel? Do you enjoy that kind of comedy particularly, or?
I don't know. I guess that there have been versions of it I like. recently it's become more annoying. The whole, like, they have a Netflix special called "You Can't Say This," and then they say it, and it's sort of a very annoying concept.
Yeah.
I like stuff that feels sharp in some way.
Yeah, in a way, it's slightly that they think that it's very out of the box, and it can, it can just be say stuff that like will offend people. Oh, there's a bit out of the lines of normal humor in society, blah, blah, blah. But in a way, because it's been done a lot, so
Yes.
it's not like, in many ways you are entering into a very comfortable world of offensive comedians where a lot of people have done that, and still has to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's making fun of people and insulting people is probably the oldest form of humor ever. And I'm sure there were cavemen who were, I don't know, talking about those Neanderthals, what are they like? Whereas really they should have been punching up at, I don't know, the farmers? I don't know who those people who've started using stone and bronze and what are they like is the real question. Let's move on. But yeah, following from that, so what type of comedy or comedians do you go to then?
Yes, that is a good question. I like very weird stuff. I always struggle with this question a bit because my mind goes blank whenever someone asks me. It's a bit like, someone asks you what's your favourite film and suddenly you can't remember any film you've ever seen. And I think I'm slowly working out what my answers are to that question because like you get asked and stuff. I think when I auditioned for the Durham Review as well, they asked me in like a little interview what comedy do you like? And I panicked and just said like a couple of ones that I like. And it was like Auntie Donna and The Pin and John Finnemore's Souvenir Program. And those last two are like radio sketch stuff, which is very niche, I think.
Yes, I did the same in my audition. I panicked and I was just like, oh, it's this niche podcast I listened to.
Exactly. But I do think that was actually kind of my correct answer on that. Because I normally say Monty Python as a default. Yeah. And I enjoy a lot of Monty Python stuff. But I do think Auntie Donna is now probably my favourite. Because for those of you who don't, Auntie Donna is an Australian sketch group. They're very weird, very strange, but also very funny. I mean, it takes you a bit of getting used to because you start watching it and you're like, I don't quite understand what's happening and I'm a little bit scared. But then like after like a bit more watching it, you really get into it. I think like comedy you can watch multiple times and get new stuff out of, I think is really good. Yes. I think it's really great. I think films that do that as well, that are comedy where you can see little details and jokes that link together are some of my favourite films. The stuff like Hot Fuzz does that really well. But yeah, I'd say Auntie Donna's great. Lots of radio stuff. Early when I was young man, baby boy. Back
in the war.
Back in
the wipers times.
You wouldn't understand, you kids. I was raised listening to this. That sounds really weird, but I can't remember what I wasn't listening to. I used to listen on repeat to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the original radio series.
Yes.
And that's like, I just remember spending there was one full Sunday I spent just listening to it again and again, like the full thing. At that point it was like 5 series. And it blew my mind because it's funny, but it's also a story and the humor all comes from concepts, which is the best kind of thing. I think humor from ideas and humor from just an idea of something is always funny to me, particularly when I read the book. There was a foreword by, I think, Michael Palin about how Douglas Adams loved ideas and he loved terrible ideas. And I think I quite like ideas that are terrible in like a really funny way.
Yes.
So that in the foreword, there was a story about like, we'd all gone out drinking and were incredibly hungover. But I had 2 tickets to go to the opera with my wife, but she said she was too hungover and couldn't go. So I called Douglas Adams. He said he was too hungover and couldn't go. So I called Terry Jones and he said he was too hungover and couldn't go. And then Douglas Adams called me back, and said actually it sounded like such a terrible idea that he wanted to come.
That's very good. That tracks very much with, I've started watching a little bit of Auntie Donna recently, and I love what you were saying about concepts. They tell jokes as well, but a lot of what I'm laughing at is almost this like sense. It's very, very hard to describe. It's like this feeling, this is so weird and bizarre, and it like tickles your brain somehow. Like, kind of the same way when you laugh, when you see something that's not intended to be funny, and you laugh at it because it's so juxtaposed. It's like they're almost doing that and sort of self-aware of it.
Oh yeah, and I think that puts it in a real niche where it shouldn't be funny. It almost isn't funny, but because they're doing that thing where it's something that isn't funny, but that it's done in just the right way of like that, it suddenly becomes hilarious. And that's something you don't see very often. There's a lot of very, very good conventional jokes and humor and stuff out there. More like, I mean, that's the most common thing to do. I'd say that we write more of it's less risky, it's more standard. Even we write that kind of thing. But I don't see many other people do stuff like they do, where it's like, there are some sketches that have one big joke that has like a reveal midway through, and it's, if it didn't land with the audience, then it would have been terrible.
Yeah.
But it just worked. And I think that's great. I think that's really impressive if you could do that. Cause I've learned not as easy to perform comedy as you would think watching it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great. It's a real challenge to push what can be funny. I mean, it helps a lot if you think what you're writing is funny. I feel like that's important.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of comedy I like that other people wouldn't. I mean, that sounds so pretentious.
They just wouldn't get it.
They wouldn't get it, man.
But there's a few things I like where I'd show it to someone, and a lot of people would laugh, and then some people would just respond with like, that's interesting. It seems very clever. It didn't make me laugh though, which is fair enough. But yeah, so would you say stuff like Douglas Adams then, Auntie Donna, are they sort of big inspirations for you writing comedy?
Definitely. I think a lot of the time it depends on what I'm re-listening to, re-watching at the time as well. So there'll be other stuff like John Finnemore's Souvenir Programme. Again, John Finnemore is a great writer. He writes for the BBC, writes lots of radio stuff. It's very funny. And so when I listen to him, I'll write a bit more like him, which tends to be like kind of family friendly, taking humor out of like a concept and like flipping it on his head a little bit, or like a common idea. And then I'll watch some Auntie Donna and I'll go, what if I just did something crazy and it's just insane and it doesn't entirely make sense. And I like that. I like that you can there's such a range of stuff out there that you can watch, like an Auntie Donna thing, and then you can listen to some Hitchhikers, Guide to the Galaxy, and you can get like two different types of comedy and write different kinds of comedy. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm doing some fun.
That little song. That was great.
It's
a shame this is not a video recording.
So you can't see my little hands.
I'm not sure what I'd call it. It's sort of like you're karate chopping two slices of bread.
It's a bit robotic as well. So in my mind, it's like a robot karate chopping the bread. So he's like it doesn't work because no one can see it. But I'm slicing the bread with my hand as I do the motion. Don't worry, if you go clubbing in Clute tonight, you'll see me hit the dance floor with this move, and you'll be like, it's that guy.
Fantastic.
Bread man.
Straight from the mind of a great offbeat comedian, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so we're about to do a little music break in a second, but before that, I have one more very important question for you. Would you rather have the power of invisibility or flight?
Ooh, well, invisibility, I think.
Interesting.
I don't know what I'd do with flying. Okay. I mean, in theory, I know what I'd do. I'd like fly around, but invisibility is more fun.
I don't know. I feel like to me, flying is the more, because invisibility is. I mean, what would you do with that?
I'd win games of hide and seek. And I want you to know that yes, that answer came quickly because I was certain. That's what I'll do with my time as an invisible man.
Thought about that.
Yeah. I'll enter some sort of competition with a big prize, and then I'll turn invisible.
Seek Olympics.
There's got to be some other uses, I'm sure, like sneaking around.
Yeah, it's always a slightly suspicious answer when people go for invisibility on this one. Yeah. You gave a very good, very wholesome answer of winning hide and seek, but sometimes people answer invisibility, you go, why? And they go, well, just...
So I can spy on you.
Yes.
Mwahahaha. And you're like, okay, moving on.
If I will spy on people from the air, that's why I'd fly.
Smarter, they won't be expecting that.
Yes, exactly.
I would choose flight if I could look like a bird while flying. That would be fun. If I could turn into a bird, then I'll pick flying.
The instinctual answers. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I haven't thought about that answer. I hadn't thought about before. It just came to me in my brain. It was like, this is how you feel, Arthur.
This is who you are.
You're a bird, Arthur.
I did wonder why you'd cover yourself in feathers when you came into the studio.
Yeah, because for those of you who can't see, which is everybody, I guess, I am currently wearing a bird suit, and as soon as this is over, I'm going to attempt to fly off of the Maiden Castle building.
Charity sponsored.
Absolutely.
You're going to dive into a big old bucket of frying oil.
That's right.
And we will feed it to starving children across the world. Let's go to a music break.
Do you have a song?
Ooh. Yes, you mentioned this earlier in terms of I get to pick the song.
Yes.
And I...
Fine.
My immediate instinct was I Predict a Riot by the Kaiser Chiefs.
Hey, it's me again. Unfortunately, I can't play you I Predict a Riot by the Kaiser Chiefs because I want to keep my promise of this being available wherever you get your podcasts, as they say. So in lieu of that, what I've decided to do is give a dramatic reading of the lyrics to the song of the guest's choice. Okay, so here we go. I Predict a Riot by the Kaiser Chiefs. Watching the people get leery. It's not very pretty, I tell thee. Walking through town is quite scary. It's not very sensible, either. A friend of a friend, he got beaten. He looked the wrong way at a policeman. Would never have happened to Smeaton, an old Leodensian. I predict a riot. I tried to get to my taxi. The man in a tracksuit attacks me. He said that he saw it before me and wants to get things a bit gory. Girls scrabble round with no clothes on to borrow £1 for a condom. If it wasn't for chip fed, they'd be frozen. They're not very sensible. I predict a riot. And if there's anybody left in here who that doesn't want to be out there, what does that mean? Get it together, Kaiser Chiefs. I mean, your name's already like a superlative, a Kaiser and a Chief. They're both similar things. Christ, pull it together, man. Watching the people get leery, it's not very pretty, I tell thee. Walking through town is quite scary. It's not very sensible. I predict a riot. And if there's anybody left in here who that doesn't want to be out there, I predict a riot. I predict a riot. I predict a riot. I predict a riot. All right. Thank you very much. Oh, you didn't have to clap for me. That's very sweet. That's very sweet. But let's get back to the show. And we are back.
Hello.
Arthur was just showing me how he eats a muffin, which is frankly, I joked earlier about getting him sent to prison, but I now genuinely think that might be a major crime. Would you like to describe how you eat a muffin?
Okay, well, I mean, in many ways I don't want to, because I know that people will have the same reaction as you, but,
So to reveal a major...
I started this now, so I might as well... I eat the bottom of the so you got your muffin. It's got like a sort of central cylindrical column, and on top it's got like
that's what they call it.
The cylindrical column of the muffin. No, and then it's got like a mushroom cloud shape at the top.
Yes.
And I eat the cylindrical column exclusively first, all of that, and then I eat all of the top bit, and it piece by piece. And that, who doesn't have their quirks?
Yeah, we're all different.
And yeah, it's only weird because I eat a lot of other stuff in a similar way where I eat it piece by piece. I same with Jaffa cakes, I'm afraid. Please, no one kill me, but we
may have to get you some protection after this goes out. There are already people outside the studio right now throwing firebombs at Maiden Castle.
And I understand. I can see where they're coming from.
But you're different. You're an this is your offensive comedy. You don't care what they think.
Absolutely. Punching down on muffins.
Okay, so let's open up with another little leading question.
Let's do it.
What would you say are kind of best and or worst moments in comedy? Things that really stand out to you?
In terms of just stuff I've watched?
I meant more your own things. So like things like stuff where it's like, oh, that really didn't go how I thought it would, or stuff where, it surprised me. It's like, oh, that was actually really good.
Okay, yeah. No, I think there's a lot of moments like that because a lot of the time, whenever you perform comedy stuff, at least for me, how you feel about it very much depends on how much the audience laughs. Like entirely. Like even it's very rarely where I'll do something like a sketch or whatever, people won't laugh and I'll think, well, I did well anyway. I think that was a great job that I did. Never mind. If they don't laugh, I'm like, well, that's terrible and that sketch is terrible and I'm not going to perform it again. And then someone will say, oh, I like that sketch you did, and suddenly you'll be like, it's a good sketch. I'm putting it back in then. I feel probably not a good habit, but I think I'm completely beholden to what other people say about the sketch at any given moment as to whether I think it's good or bad. In terms of like specific moments, I performed a show last September in London with my good friend Christian Gale, and there were 5 shows, and you could definitely, the ones that went really well, we felt very like high and giddy afterwards. And then there was one show, at least for me, I think Christian thought it went better, which again, teach you about perspective of everything, you know, like, it really is nonsense whether it goes well or not in your brain. But there was one where I didn't think people laughed very much, and we got heckled a bit. And that was quite, because we'd never been heckled before, so it was just an extra challenge to deal with. And I thought, I'm not dealing with this well at all. I don't know how to like keep it light.
Never prepared for it, man. Like I was aware it was something that might happen, but it was it's something you can't really practice for at all beforehand. Unless, I don't know, you get a friend to come in and jeer at you when you practice. But reacting to live audience is, it's a very unique thing.
I think it's good that I started doing improv this year, because it's slightly prepared my brain a bit for like, you can be a bit loose with the rules when on stage if you feel like there's something funny that can be said, particularly in response to someone else, to like an audience member saying something. Then just say it.
Absolutely.
What's the worst that can happen? Did you sort of experience that more? I know you performed with us and Keith recently at the Durham Drama Festival opening night. Was that sort of what you're talking about that evening?
Yeah, so we didn't, from what I remember anyway, unless I suppressed it, we didn't really get heckling because it doesn't seem to, well, this is the one show I've done. But from what I know, it's less likely to happen at a kind of big theater show like that.
Yeah.
I was unprepared for laughter. Partly because I wasn't sure how funny my sketches were, but also because I was completely unprepared for having to, you know, in rehearsals, it's like rehearsing for a play.
Yeah.
You know, you learn the lines, you might ad-lib a bit. Sometimes you laugh, but also a lot of the time when you're doing a sketch over and over and over again in rehearsal, everybody stops laughing because, you know, you all know the jokes and it's just memory now. And so I'd say a line on stage, sometimes not even a punchline as well. It would just be a line that someone thought was funny. There was a great moment when you came in during Isabel from Keith's Sugar Daddy sketch.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to?
I'm the Sugar Daddy, and they say the word Sugar Daddy, and I just prance on stage and go, did anybody say Sugar Daddy? And, I mean, in rehearsals, I didn't even do it as extreme necessarily in rehearsals, because over time people stop laughing at it because we've all seen it 10 times. And but I did it in the thing, and suddenly people cheered and they clapped, didn't they? I got a round of applause just for going.
It's like a celebrity entering a talk show. It was amazing.
It felt great, particularly because I was like, oh, okay, I can relax now because the material is funny. Because you always have that doubt, don't you?
Yes.
Where is it actually funny? I don't know. And then you get on there and you're like, oh, people like it.
Did you find at all that, because obviously you've been doing it a decent while now, but particularly when you started out, how was it learning to react to audience laughter and kind of pause on things? Because I found that quite awkward.
Yeah, that's a learning process for sure. The first sketch comedy performance I did was last summer with Keith. And the difference between that and the most recent ones that I've been doing, I think, are very stark, because you slowly learn, I think, the more you, just by experience, just by doing it more, how to take the script that you're reading and put in pauses and breaks in like even in one line, just to like have comic timing and deliver it in a way that feels natural and funny. Because when I first started doing it, when a lot of people first start doing it, the delivery can sound a bit more, maybe not wooden, but like
sort of rigid and like a monologue.
Yeah, because it was on a script, and it something sounds funny when you say it for the first time, when it first pops into your head, because you're saying it with conviction. You're saying it, you actually feel this thing, and it's very hard to get yourself to say it again and again and again with the same level of conviction, and you're feeling it and you're acting, you know, and it's just practice in acting and like performance, and particularly how to do it in a comical way.
Yes.
I think it just takes practice. And I think you did a fantastic job for your first.
Thank you very much.
Comedy, and I'm really excited to see where we all go with it, because we're all part of the Keith Edinburgh Fringe troupe. So everybody, so we'll be going to Edinburgh Fringe this summer, and we're just going to hopefully keep doing performances until we do the thing, and I think we're going to do really well. It'll be a lot of fun.
We're going to take them by storm. But yeah, live comedy I've found it's this really fascinating on the spot learning you have to do about when to, like, when I did stand-up and with the sketch comedy, as compared to theater stuff, where you kind of learn the timing down to a T, you know, when the intermission is and things. With this, you sort of learn, like, oh, maybe I'll skip a line now, or I might ad lib here, or like, oh, that didn't get a laugh, so next time I'll take that out. Or it turns out that this is too long because it's very funny, but now everyone's laughing all the time and the sketch is going on 2 minutes longer than I thought it would. Did you have any experience with that kind of thing in the past, like having to edit stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's also part of the learning process, you're right, is that, like, learning not only that you probably need to edit a sketch you've written, even, you know, you write a sketch the first time, you think, oh, this is really funny. But I think inevitably they always need a bit of tweaking here and there, or like, like you say, cutting off at the right point is important so you don't go on after what would be a natural punchline. And you learn that you probably need to edit it, but you're also learning how best to do that, because it's quite hard, particularly in your first draft. You write lines a certain way, or with like the sketch moves in a certain direction, and it's hard to like imagine in your brain, okay, I need to make this go a different way, but still be funny and maybe still hit the same jokes. It's weird to describe. It doesn't sound like it makes any sense.
None of this makes any sense. I mean, all of the comedy stuff that I found out about this year is so seat of the pants. Yeah. It's so, like, figuring it out by what feels right is what you're doing.
And it all sounds ridiculous as well. I think I've got to the point, because I've been doing it for like a year, where I say these things and they just sound natural to me now. But like, if I pause and think for a second about what I'm saying, I sound very silly.
Yes.
Talking in such serious detail about, like, writing stupid sketches. Yeah, I mean, it's all a bit of fun, really. I think that's also something you have to remind yourself, is that you're just trying to enjoy yourself. How
do you manage the balance there? Because obviously it's something you're passionate about and something you like to do. Like, how seriously do you take it as you're doing it?
Partly because Christian, again, President of Keith, wants to do it very professionally, he takes it very seriously, and he's in many ways dragging us all along for the ride. It's a lot of fun. I think I do take it more seriously now, which is interesting, because it really just started as something that would be a fun break from having to do my work, which my mum is annoyed at me for, because she said, your thing to take a break from work is actually giving you more work to do than your uni. But stop, Arthur, stop this.
My mom is very much the same. I think she would much rather if my break from my work was, I don't know, interning at Microsoft or something. No, Mom, it's okay. Writing sketches for a small uni comedy troupe is just the same value.
Exactly. I don't get what they don't understand about it. I mean, the job prospects alone speak for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, you do some sketches at uni and then it's straight into a Netflix special. It's that easy.
As long as it's offensive comedy, of course.
Yes. Okay, great. So I think now might be a good time to do our special little sketch of the week. I'm just realizing, by the way, I should get some jingles, maybe a theme for the show, because it's very quiet.
Yeah.
I might improvise one now. It's sketch of the week. If it was a bird, it'd have a beak. But it ain't a bird. It's a sketch. It's a sketch of the week.
It ain't a bird. It's just Arthur transformed into a bird.
Oh, yes. Bring it back. The lore.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I believe my little baby bird Arthur has brought in a sketch for us. Oh, okay. There's a moment the other day where we were in the Dog Cow pub doing a Keith meeting.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, I can't even remember what happened. Oh yeah. What happened?
So Isabel, a friend of ours who's in Keith, I don't know, we were talking about cats for some reason. She said, like, Arthur, you're quite cat-like or something. And then, would you like to, why don't you re-perform your response?
Yeah, so my response to this was, meow!
In the middle of a very quiet pub.
I don't know why my brain thought that was like the logical response. Was like, I guess I'm a cat now. Yeah.
It's just that sort of day.
I think that's what doing this work has done to me, is my brain starts to it's like, why don't you do this? But that doesn't make any sense. Just do it. Just do this thing. Brain, I don't want to. Do the thing.
Start performing sketches in real life.
But yes, I believe you've got access to the sketch.
This is very exciting for my audio podcast. Me opening Google Drive.
I'll just make noises while we
do some more animal noises. Do some more. That's great.
I don't know what animal that you got. I have to guess the animal. Everybody, it's like raw.
Okay.
If the answer was a human.
Very meta. I see 3 sketches here. Which is it called?
This is a sketch called Checkmate. Yes, this is a sketch that we've tried once at a hotbox, and it didn't go down brilliantly, but that was partly my fault for making it far too long and giving a very wordy sketch to two dyslexic men who'd never read it before.
Yes. Although that's not... you're underselling it slightly, because I feel like part of the issue is the setup of the hotbox.
Yes.
Is everybody's slightly drunk, and sketches like that are ideally better right at the beginning when people are awake and concentrating.
That's true.
And towards the end, if it's not like, I don't know, a joke about sex or
something that cuts through.
Yeah, exactly.
There is definitely like a knack to ordering sketches correctly.
Yes,
and not
definitely.
having similar sketches or like wordy sketches in certain places. And yeah, it's interesting.
Absolutely. Okay, so there were two people in the sketch. There was a ruler and king.
Yes.
Who would you like me to play?
Why don't you play the king and I'll play the ruler?
I shall. I'll do my best king voice.
Alrighty. So here we go. It is a cold morning for a battle. Hark! Who approaches I, the ruler of Anglica?
It is I, the king of chess. The king of chess. This is a stage direction.
Yes, it is.
Why are you waiting for me?
I forgot to write that in. So far, so good, everybody. Move past the stage direction, which totally would work on radio. Absolutely, it's not a physical stage direction at all.
It's all part of the meta comedy. Thank you for meeting me one final time before our armies meet in battle.
I'm a merciful king, and would like to avoid all that nasty conflict.
You arranged this battle as a last-ditch effort to avoid battle, no doubt. But I warn you, I boast an army 1,000 knights strong, not to mention my mercenaries from the south and noble halberd bearers.
Well, that's certainly impressive, but they'd all best surrender now. You see, I have brought all 16 of my best at my side.
16? Your knight's guard cannot best my 1,000 knights, no matter how strong.
Knight's guard? No, it's the whole army.
You've only brought 16 units into battle with you?
Not units, they're people.
What? That's insane. You're going to all get slaughtered. I literally have an army in the tens of thousands.
Wait, tens of thousands? How on earth did you manage that?
Well, this is an international battle. I'm hardly going to skimp, am I? How many people did you think I was going to bring?
I didn't think to... Well, no matter. My army, albeit small, is famed for its well-thought-out and strategic battle plan.
16, honestly. That's almost insulting. You think you'll be able to beat us with an army literally under 1% the size of mine? How bad do you think we are at fighting? I mean, that's not going to happen no matter how strategic you are.
Ah, you say that. But I am well versed in infinite different strategies. The openings alone, I have 100 of.
Openings?
Yes. You know, the initial moves in any battle. I know so many different ways. The King's Gambit, the Sicilian Defence, the London Foot Rub. The best ones involve my pawns doing most of the charging.
Your pawns? Which ones are those?
Oh, well, you see all those smaller people standing in a line in front of everyone else? Yes, they go first. They just sort of charge straight forward, pretty much in a singular direction. Pretty slow, to be honest, but when they reach the enemy, oh boy, do they get wrecking. As long as the enemy isn't stood directly in front of them.
What?
Yeah, well, they've sort of got to be stood diagonally to the front.
That's not a good battle strategy. With as small an army as you have, you really can't afford to be charging half of them forward to get slaughtered before anything even happens. And they move so slow that they're going to get killed before they even reach us. I have archers, you know.
Archers? Where did you bring them?
They're a majorly important group to bring into a battle. I can't believe you haven't brought any, have you?
Well, anyway, look. The pawns might make it. Sometimes they go twice the distance in their first move.
I don't care if they have a running start. I seriously doubt they'll make it at all.
Look, believe me, it works. These are tried and tested battle strategies. I can't believe you don't know this. Next thing I know, you're telling me I shouldn't have brought my bishops into battle.
Bishops? Why did you bring them? Oh, to bless the troops before battle.
No, to fight. Actually, they're a major offensive force for me.
Why? They're supposed to be at least somewhat, peaceful, religious group. They're not battle-trained. They're going to run straight into battle and get killed.
Well, not straight into battle. No, they also move in one direction, you see. Just a different direction. Diagonally. I'm hoping they might be able to dodge your archer's silly little arrows that way.
That's stupid. It doesn't matter what direction they're running. 2 bishops are not going to be able to dodge a hail of 1,000 arrows.
How did you know it's 2?
I can see your army over there. I assumed those 2 standing at opposite corners from each other are your rooks?
Well, they prefer to be called castles, but technically, yes, they're leading generals in my army.
Right, I've heard of these guys. Apparently, you and your rooks take a break from ordering your troops in the middle of battle to play a game of leapfrog. And then you just sort of hang out together in the corner of the battlefield, waiting for most of the people to die, so you actually have to do something. Not displaying great leadership skills from either of you, if I'm honest.
It's tactical leapfrog.
Is it really? Sure, I'll just have to take your word on that one there. Do you have any normal units?
Well, I've got 2 knights over there, but they do also jump over people a lot, and they're actually giant horses.
Oh, forget it. I assume they move in just one direction too, by the way.
Oh, actually no, they move in an L shape.
So it doesn't look like any of your forces are any good at fighting.
Oh no, my wife, the queen of chess. She can move in a whole range of directions, doesn't play any leapfrog. I send her out to wreck the other side. She's so good, I'd only ever sacrifice her if it was really worth it.
Sacrifice? She's your wife! Don't send important members of state out into battle by themselves! Where are you while she's doing this?
Well, I'm playing leapfrog.
With the rooks?
I'm just not as quick as she is, really, so...
Oh, for goodness sake. Well, look, I most definitely am attacking you now, given how I've basically guaranteed victory. I don't see a point in negotiating.
No, please don't. Look, you don't have to kill us. I'll just...
What are you doing? Why are you lying on the floor? What are you doing?
I'm lying. I'm surrendering.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Ready the army. We're going to kill these morons.
Wow, they fell for it. Doreen, my darling queen, they're attacking. Ready the 20 billion armed knights and call forth the trebuchets.
Hey, and that is it.
Very nice. I very much like that. I very much like the idea of it. And I think it's a very good example of your brand of taking a simple base concept and pushing it to the bizarre.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that sketch. I still think it needs a bit of editing, actually, which links back to what we were saying earlier, but I like it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I think we are running close to the end here. Before we go, is there anything you would like to plug? Anything you're doing?
What are we doing? What am I doing? I've got a couple of episodes of Conversations from the Coffee Shop coming out starting next Thursday, I believe.
Your social media, your Insta handle? Don't have to.
No, I'd like to hide.
That's very respectable.
From the people. Like my invisibility.
Yes.
Bringing it back.
Very meta.
Hide with my invisibility and leave as a bird.
That's very you. But until next week, I have been Patrick. My guest has been Arthur.
Hello.
Goodbye and farewell.
Bye.
Hey, it's me again. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the show, you trooper you. So, you can find Arthur's current sketch comedy group as specific_cabbage on Instagram. You can find the show at Never Is Funny on Instagram. The music for the dramatic lyric reading this episode was Enchanted by Keys of the Moon Music on YouTube. And as always, the music for the title theme was There It Is by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license, http://creativecommons.org, licenses by /4.0. See you next time. I love you. I don't know if I can say that.